Good morning, everybody. I am Dr. Nitin Doshi, Professor in Urology, with teaching experience of 25 years working as consultant neurosurgeon in Panvel. Today, we will discuss ureteric implantation, surgical management for primary obstructed megaureter. After suitable anesthesia, lithotomy position is given for diagnostic cystourethropy so as to rule out secondary obstructed megaureter. Urethropy to evaluate urethra so as to rule out bladder outlet obstruction, while cystoscopy to find out any changes in bladder secondary to bladder outlet obstruction or neurogenic bladder, thus ruling out secondary megaureter. The bladder is inspected to look for stenotic ureteric orifice on side of pathology, and then RGP is performed. For performing RGP as well as ruling out anatomical obstruction in the ureter, 5 French open-ended ureteric catheter with glide wire is attempted to pass in the ureter. If there is no anatomical obstruction but only functional obstruction, which is seen in primary obstructed megaureter, where there will be presence of adynamic, aperistaltic terminal ureter. This terminal ureter is normally about 5 to 6 cm of the terminal ureter. Since there is only functional obstruction, no anatomical obstruction, usually open-ended ureteric catheter will pass easily in the ureter, and then there will be evidence of hydronephrotic drip. In presence of even primary obstructed megaureter, the proximal ureter proximal to the obstruction is grossly dilated, tortuous, elongated, and so as to accommodate this dilated, elongated ureter in limited space, the ureter gets kinked. Due to these kinks, there may be difficulty in inserting ureteric catheter upwards. Then, through negotiated ureteric orifice, 1:1 diluted Conray is injected to perform RGP. RGP will show evidence of normal calibered terminal ureter of variable length with proximal dilated ureter as well as pelvis. But in spite of grossly dilated ureter and pelvis, there may be only minimal dilatation of calyces. Due to obstruction, the injected Conray may remain in system for a long time. Note that the pathological adynamic aperistaltic ureter will not be present only intravasically but may be present even extravasically. The entire pathological adynamic segment has to be disconnected from proximal normal peristaltic ureter, and then this normally functionally ureter is reimplanted in the bladder. After cysto-RGP, 14 French Foley's catheter is inserted under strict aseptic precaution and catheter is clamped so as to keep the bladder distended. Incision is combined financial with modified Gibson. Position is given for the same, that is financial with modified Gibson, is supine with slight head low with roller kept vertically between shoulder and flank so that abdominal wall will fall away. Normal financial incision is a transverse infraumbilical incision taken along lowest skin crease, which is about 2.5 cm above symphysis pubis with concavity upwards. The U of the incision can be extended upward to join the Gibson incision, and it can be extended upwards even up to the lower pole of kidney, so that renal descensus with inferior nephropexy can be performed to gain additional length whenever the length of ureter is inadequate to perform the ureteroneocystostomy without tension. For the standard Gibson incision, the lateralmost point is 2 cm above and 2 cm medial to anterior superior iliac spine, and then it is carried forward parallel to imaginary line joining anterior superior iliac spine and symphysis pubis. Initially, incision is marked but begun like financial incision. Incision is taken with 20 number blade, and then with the cautery the incision is deepened to cut subacute and to expose shining anterior rectus sheath. The incision is made in anterior rectus sheath Then, with the artery forceps, the rectus sheath is separated from underlying muscles, that is rectus abdominis and pyramidalis, and then the anterior rectus sheath is cut. The cut upper flap of the anterior rectus sheath is reflected upwards up to umbilicus, while lower flap up sheath is reflected downwards up to symphysis pubis by using 4 to 5 Ellis forceps. In the midline, two recti are separated bluntly with artery forceps. Since the bladder is full, the parietal peritoneum will get automatically reflected from anterior surface and dome of bladder. Still, with wet sponge in sponge holding forceps, the parietal peritoneum is completely reflected from the dome as well as posterior surface of bladder. The surgical approach to the bladder is similar to that for simple vesico-ureteral reflux surgery, except that additional maneuvers may be required to ensure that the length of submucosal tunnel to diameter of ureter is adequate, and that is 5:1. This is to prevent reflux. These maneuvers include ureteral tailoring or tapering to reduce the diameter of dilated ureter, and Soasich or Bohari flap with or without renal descensus with inferior nephropexy to gain additional length so as to achieve adequate length of submucosal tunnel, and that also without any tension on the anastomosis. As per Paquin's principle of ureteric implantation, which is combination of both extravesical and intravesical dissection. Initially, there will be extravesical dissection followed by intravesical dissection. Before starting extravesical dissection, bladder is deflated. Blunt dissection is carried out by passing flat hand in retropubic cave of Retzius and both lateral paravesical spaces so as to separate fibrofatty tissue from the retropubic cave of Retzius as well as lateral paravesical spaces. More dissection will be required on the opposite side of the lateral paravesical space, opposite side of the pathology. That is, if there is ureteric implantation on the right side, then more dissection on the left lateral paravesical space will be required. Retroperitoneal dissection is done on the side of pathology once both the paravesical spaces and the retropubic cave of Retzius is developed. The retroperitoneal dissection is done by initially the blunt dissection as well as by the sharp dissection. For the initial sharp dissection, parietal peritoneum and fascia transversalis is separated from the lateral wall, and then the blunt dissection is carried out by inserting 2 to 3 wet mops one after the another. Due to development of retroperitoneal space, iliac vessels will come in picture. Common iliac as well as external iliac arteries are exposed along with their corresponding veins. Common iliac and external iliac arteries are situated laterally, corresponding veins are situated medially. In lower part, ureter may be adherent to the parietal peritoneum, and so ureter may get reflected medially with peritoneum. Normally, ureter is identified as the whitish tubular, non-branching, non-pulsatile tubular structure with longitudinally running blood vessels in its periureteral adventitial fatty sheath. However, dilated ureter may have appearance of small intestine like ileum. So, to confirm that it is only ureter, one may aspirate the contents with 24 or 25 French needle. Ureter is identified at level of crossing of iliac vessels. That is, ureter initially is anterior to common iliac artery and then anterior to internal iliac artery. Once the ureter is identified with mixture and vascular tissue forceps, identified ureter is dissected on either side to isolate it, and then it is hooked with infant feeding tube. To mobilize the isolated ureter, the hooked ureter is lifted upwards and peritoneum and its contents are retracted medially with devers covered with mops. The holding bands are then cut with blunt tip scissors. During mobilization, one should not skeletonize the ureter but skeletonize the peritoneum so as to prevent devascularization of ureter. The ureter is mobilized upwards to relieve kinks, thus straightening the kinked ureter, due to which there is lengthening. the ureter. Due to release of kings, there will be relief of obstruction which will improve the drainage of the ureter. The ureter is mobilized even downwards up to UV junction. During this downward mobilization, one will come across the superior vesical artery, which is the first branch of anterior division of internal iliac artery. This superior vesical artery is patent in only proximal part, which continues distally to become fibrous cord-like structure called medial umbilical ligament. In males, lower part of the ureter is crossed by vas deferens. Once the ureter is mobilized up to UV junction, extravesical dissection is complete. Before disconnecting the ureter, medial and lateral orientation of ureter is taken into account with the help of two separate suture materials. Since the lower part of ureter receives its blood supply from medial aspect, while mobilizing lower part of ureter, dissection should be done along its lateral aspect. At this stage, while performing ureteric implantation for obstructed megaureter, rather than disconnecting the ureter, initially one may go ahead with intravesical dissection. For intravesical dissection, bladder is made full again with asepto syringe and confirm that peritoneum is properly reflected from dome as well as posterior wall of bladder so as to prevent the intraperitoneal approach. Once bladder is full, between two stay sutures, anterior cystostomy is performed starting below the dome and extending downwards approximately 2 to 3 cm proximal to bladder neck. The leaking urine will be sucked with suction. In case of primary obstructed megaureter, since the ureter is dilated, tortuous, elongated, there will be enough ureteral length, and so the parent pathological intravesical ureter is not dissected out of its submucosal tunnel. Since the ureter has not been disconnected at this junction, one can see that urine is ejected by the peristaltic action of the ureter through the obstructed ureter as well as obstructed ureteric orifice. Now the ureter is inspected for transition from normal looking, normal calibered extravesical ureter to proximally dilated tortuous ureter. At this junction, the healthy dilated ureter is disconnected while distal cut end is tied with absorbable suture material. Through the proximal cut end of the ureter, 7 French infant feeding tube is passed so as to straighten the kings, to rule out torsion or twist of the ureter, to give wash, and also presence of infant feeding tube in ureter helps to spatulate the ureter. Since the ureteric implantation is of intravesical type, ureter will be implanted on the posterior wall of bladder and ureter will be spatulated on its anterior or anterolateral wall of the ureter. After disconnection, the diameter of proximal cut end of the ureter is measured. Since achieving the Leadbetter polytonal anti-reflux ureteric implantation is required in case of pediatric age group, the ratio of diameter to the length of intravesical ureter should be 1:5. If the diameter of the proximal cut end is more than 12 French, which is approximately 1.2 to 1.5, then tailoring or tapering of the ureter may be required. However, only terminal ureter of about 5 cm should be tailored or tapered. This terminal ureter is going to become intravesical ureter on reimplantation. Decision of tailoring, that is excisional tapering or non-excisional tapering, depends upon surgeon's preference, size of ureter, thickness of ureter. Folding of very dilated, thick walled ureter will create a large amount of bulk, making a creation of submucosal tunnel difficult. However, during modeling of ureter, that is narrowing of ureter without devascularization, one has to remember atraumatic manipulation of ureter as well as preservation of blood vessels that enter the wall of ureter from the medial aspect. Tailoring, that is excisional tapering, where after excision there is suturing. However, tailoring of long segment of ureter may result into ischemia of distal ureter causing ureter stenosis. This happens even if one takes proper care to preserve blood supply. So according to Culkin's scheme, and associates in order to avoid devascularization of distalmost ureter following tailoring. Leave the full circumference of distal ureter intact and follow the method of modeling of lower portion of the dilated ureter, which principles are now modified by Ehrlich, and these principles are: 1. About lower 5 cm of ureter is divided longitudinally into 2. 8 French is passed into one of the longitudinally divided ureter. The ureter lumen is segregated into longitudinally running mattress sutures of 3-chromic catgut, thus dividing this dilated ureter into 2 longitudinally run openings of more or less equal caliber. Care is taken not to narrow the lumen containing the Foley's catheter, at least to keep the diameter of about 8 to 10 mm. So the ureter should not be narrowed less than 8 to 10 mm. Then one portion of dilated ureter is rolled over the lumen and the catheter. To hold the rolled segment in place, interrupted adventitious sutures are taken on the posterior aspect and then buttressed against the detrusor. It results into less ureteral bulk. Studies have shown that if reimplanted ureter is not having obstruction and reflux, then even grossly dilated ureter regresses over a period. The principles of anti-reflux surgery so as to create flap wall mechanism are: 1. Creation of oblique submucosal tunnel of adequate length with ratio of 1:5. Tension-free anastomosis between the end of spatulated ureter with side of bladder. Firm support for intravesical ureter from underlying detrusor. Creation of new hiatus as per Leadbetter polytono technique. This new hiatus should be wide, extraperitoneal, supromedial to the previous hiatus. Since it becomes supromedial, there will be increase in the cranial length of intravesical ureter. However, it should not be on the mobile portion of the bladder, that is, it should not be too lateral or too superior. This is because if the hiatus is too lateral or too superior, then due to filling of bladder, the ureter may get kinked, and because of the kinking of the ureter, there may be obstruction. In intravesical approach, mobilized ureter is brought into bladder under vision, thus preventing injury to peritoneum and intraperitoneal organs. The new hiatus, which is on the posterior wall, extraperitoneal and supromedial to previous hiatus, is created by passing right angled artery forceps from inside of the bladder towards posterior wall of the bladder. On this right angled artery forceps, incision is made with 11 number blade and is dilated adequately so as to make it wide enough. Then the mobilized ureter is brought from outside into the bladder by holding the stay sutures. To confirm absence of any twist or torsion, infirm feeding tube is passed up the ureter repeatedly at every step. Just distal to entry of ureter, submucosal tunnel is created. To make the base of the bladder prominent, known number of Gamgee pads are inserted in dome and retracted upwards by padded Devers forceps. For creating submucosal tunnel with 11 number blade, mucosa does distal to entry of ureter is incised, and then with saline and drop of adrenaline is injected by 25 French needle in submucosa so as to separate submucosa from the overlying mucosa. To make the task easy, the bladder wall on the either side of the tunnel is grasped with 2 tooth forceps. Now through the incision in mucosa, fine scissors are inserted, and by open and close method, the tunnel is created. The tunnel should be long enough as well as wide enough, so as to make sure that each section of tunnel is adequately wide. Before progressing further, one should take care that each section is dilated adequately so that the tunnel is not only long enough but wide enough. During dissection, shining blades of the scissors can be seen through overlying mucosa, indicating correct plane of dissection. Once adequate length of submucosal tunnel is created at the lower end of the tunnel, incision is given in the mucosa by 11 number blade. Through incision in mucosa, which is at lower end of the submucosal tunnel, long artery forceps is passed towards the ureter, and then holding the stay sutures of the ureter is brought down through the submucosal tunnel. After bringing the ureter through submucosal tunnel, infant feeding tube is passed again to rule out obstruction secondary to twist. During creation of submucosal tunnel, if there is buttonholing of the mucosa, it is sutured by 30 or 40 Vicryl. If creation of long and wide submucosal tunnel is not possible, then bladder mucosa of entire length of submucosal tunnel is incised, and then split mucosa is raised enough, and then submucosal tunnel is then created by suturing the split raised mucosa over the ureter. Suture is started distal to hiatus by continuous stitch of 40 Vicryl. Once the ureter is brought out through submucosal tunnel, lower end of the ureter is freshened and then spatulated on anterior wall of the ureter. The anastomosis between the end of ureter to the side of the bladder should be without any tension. Any tension on anastomosis means stretching of the ureter and hence ureteral artery. Stretching of ureteral artery means there will be ischemia at the end of the anastomosis. This ureteral artery is actually formed by multiple perforating branches which join to form an artery, and it runs in the entire length of the ureter in its periureteral adventitial fatty sheath. So, when one suspects any tension on anastomosis, then psoas hitch or Bohari flap can be taken. Psoas hitch is actually a psoas bladder hitch. It is a seromuscular stitch, that is stitch without penetration of bladder mucosa. These multiple sutures can be taken between the posterolateral aspect of dome or fundus of bladder to psoas minor tendon or psoas major muscle if the psoas minor tendon is absent. For taking seromuscular stitches, horn or fundus of bladder is reflected up and lateral to ipsilateral common iliac vessel by putting fingers, and then multiple bilateral symmetrical stitches are taken after taken into consideration the lie of ureter. The ureter which is brought through submucosal tunnel now anastomos to the side of the bladder. First stitch is at the side where the ureter is coming out of the submucosal tunnel, which is full thickness of ureter to full thickness of bladder. 3 to 4 interrupted stitches are then taken exactly opposite to the first stitch, which are again full thickness of the ureter to full thickness of the bladder, so as to anchor and fix the ureter to bladder. The rest of the anastomosis is completed by full thickness of ureter to mucosa of bladder. At the site of new hiatus, posteriorly, interrupted stitches are taken to buttress the ureter. For giving additional support to the ureter and preventing distraction of the ureter by contraction of detrusor, serosa to serosa, interrupted stitches are taken between the serosa of the ureter and serosa bladder. 6 French close or open-ended DJ is inserted in the ureter. Separate 20 French or 22 French suprapubic catheter is inserted into bladder through the bladder wall opposite to the site of ureteric implantation. Cystostomy is closed in 2 or 3 layers with 20 Vicryl. Watertight closure is confirmed by light wash. Tube drain is inserted and wound is closed in layers with 10 Vicryl or 10 etholon after infiltrating the wound with lignocaine and Sensorcaine for additional pain relief. Thank you very much.